Oh boy, it's happening, Hot Breathiverse. Welcome back to the Hot Breath Podcast, the show where you learn comedy from the pros. I am comedian Joel Byers. This is our series, Comedians on Skype Talking Comedy, where you get to ask your favorite comedians your favorite comedy questions. If you are watching this on YouTube or listening on the podcast, all of these Q&As do happen in our Facebook group, so go into the description. Join our Facebook group to be involved with all the different writing clubs and different additional content we have going on, as well as interacting with comedians like today's amazing guest we have. Please welcome to the Hot Breathiverse, Miss Emily Catalano, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Woo! Oh, there we go. Yeah, I was doing an applause sound effect. There it is. Awesome. Well, welcome.
Hey, am I here?
You're on the internet now. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I love. Or I mean, we'll get into it, but I love it. Seemingly, first, how long have you been doing comedy?
5 years.
5 years.
About
okay.
5 years, yeah.
Cool. So yeah, people, you can go ahead and start posting questions, but something that I think people enjoy about your comedy, or at least what I enjoy when I first stumbled upon you, is like you seem to be able to marry how you are off stage and bring it on stage. And only 5 years in, I mean, you're ahead of the curve in a lot of ways. It takes comedians several years to figure out that balance, but are you aware of that? Is that something you're conscious of, or does it just kind of happen and you're like, I mean, that's just what it is?
I think I'm aware of it now, but when I first started, I sort of was like just lucky. Like that's just how I was just like the same way on stage that I am like right now. Mm-hmm. And I guess like I didn't know that was unique. But now I realize like, oh yeah, that's like pretty hard to do, is just like have that voice, that like unique voice on stage and off stage. So I got like pretty lucky, I guess, that this is the only voice that I can do.
But how, you said you at least weren't aware of it at first, but how did you start to become aware of how you're funny off stage and start to bring it on stage?
Dude, I don't know. I'm still figuring that out. But, yeah, I think it's just like the more comfortable you are, the more like you realize like the more natural you can be on stage, the more you have the audience's attention. So if you can be real and like connect with them, like then that's the best thing for your comedy. So I think it's just practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why I was excited about doing this episode with you, which was requested by a listener. You are like seemingly new to comedy. I mean, 5 years versus people who do this their entire lives. You know, I'm 10 years in, but I still consider myself considerably new based on it being a lifelong journey. But you being only 5 years in and already being able to perform on Conan, a comedian, we see Conan, we're just like, oh, they climbed the mountain. You know, they made it type deal. How did that whole experience come to be?
Dude, that was crazy. It was kind of just, I was in the right place at the right time. I started in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And so I was like working the clubs up there, like Punchline and Cobb's. And I got to do a weekend with Pete Holmes. So I was just hosting for Pete, and he was like, next time you're in LA, come do my show at Largo. And so I was like, okay.
Whoa, yeah, that's huge.
So I like planned a trip down there just to do his show. And then a few days before I drove down, the show got canceled. And he didn't like tell me about it. I like found out on their website, or my friend was like, the show looks like it got canceled. And I looked it up on the website and it was canceled. So I was like, hey, is this show still happening? And he's like, oh, sorry about that. No, it's not happening. And then like I ended up moving to LA like a few months later after that. And then I was like, I'll just hit him up again. And because it's like a monthly show.
Mm-hmm.
So I hit him up and he was like, yeah, for sure. Come by. And I did a set and it was like amazing. It's just like a really cool theater, like the best crowd. And the owner was there who like books all the shows and he really liked me. So he just kept like booking me and got to open for like some like other comedians like Sarah Silverman and Tig Notaro.
At Largo?
At Largo, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was just like this like random like I mean I think like, you know, it helps being like funny, but
Funny, exactly. Funny.
but it was just like it was like one of those like dreams come true like moments where you're like I'm in the right place at the right time and now all these like cool things are happening to me. And then so Pete's manager was at a lot of shows and he's like, I've been talking to you I'm talking about you to JP, the Conan booker.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you should send in your clip from tonight. And I was like, well, I already sent him a clip and he never got back to me. So, you know, it's not going to happen. He's like, no, send another one, send your audio, which is like kind of unheard of. Like you're not supposed to send audio. You're supposed to send video.
Huh.
But he's like, yeah, I've been talking to him about you. So just do it. So I had my manager send in my audio from that night. And then he got back to us with like all the jokes that he liked. And then it was like kind of a long process from there. It was like maybe 6 months after that, I was able to get on air. But
6 months of like back and forth. Like, is he like, can you change this joke, or like, what was the back and forth or that process?
Yeah, it was like put these jokes together, make a video, send it to me. Okay, I like that. That's good. We'll try to get you on. Mm-hmm. But like, you know, going months without hearing, and then he like was like, oh, do you want to do this joke instead of this joke? And then I was like, no. But I was like, then we like switched up the order again, and then I got the like, okay, we're gonna get you on. But it was it was like I was stressed out like for 6 months, just not knowing.
But then were you stressed out preparing for it too? I mean, and how long? I'd love to get in the preparation, but how long between 6 months to get the confirmation, and then how long after, okay, we want you, are you then performing on Conan?
So I got the date for Conan 1 week. And yeah, like 1 week before.
You're supposed to do it?
So I had, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
For like a definite date. Uh-huh. So I had 1 week. So I just like did as many shows as I could for that week. And it was really easy to get like the stage time for it, because you just have to say like, hey, I'm going to be on Conan next week. Like, can I do 5 minutes? Mm-hmm. And it was like the coolest week, because I knew my 5 minutes, like, and I knew I was doing Conan. So it was just like this, I was on this like other level where I was just like so happy.
Yeah.
But it was like stressful, but like after that week, I was like so prepared for it and just like ready to like do it, you know, get it over with. And it was cool. Yeah.
Are you like in your apartment pacing, talking in the mirror? Like how far does the preparation go between, are you transcribing it? Like how mm-hmm. fine-tuned was this set?
Just like it couldn't get more fine-tuned. Like I was going over it in my head, like I couldn't sleep. I was just like writing it out, like in the shower, just like saying it over and over again. Like it was almost like maybe too prepared, but I felt like once I was on stage, I like felt good, because it was like I think I like blacked out like on stage.
Wow.
I was just like so surreal. But I'm happy that I was like prepared.
What a gnarly experience.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Like what is that feeling like? Because I went through a phase where I was like, I gotta book Conan for this like dumb outside validation thing. Like I would still do it, of course, but like I wanted to do it for the wrong reason, which I have found in my career. Anytime those are your intentions, then it won't come to fruition. So let go of it since. But there was moments in my career where I'm like, I've got to book Conan because then everything happens. But like you being 5 years in and you getting this Conan benchmark, and you can kind of put that as a credit now. Like, is it validating? I mean, what is that feeling? I didn't get to feel it. How does it feel, Emily?
Yeah. Well, I'll say like, yeah, like you said, the validation is probably the most meaningful to me because it's like my first credit.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, like I didn't have one, like maybe like some festivals or something.
Right,
but I
exactly.
just didn't have a
Yeah,
credit.
yeah.
So it's like validation for like other comedians, I think, to be like, oh, Conan, okay, she's validated
Mm-hmm.
almost in a way. But also like for me, it was like a big, like, okay, I am doing this comedy thing. Like if, you know, for me, like personally, it's just like something like, okay, all this hard work, like 5 years of, doing all these shows every night, it like paid off, and that feels really good. But as far as like, I don't know if like after doing Conan, it's not like I'm uh, a different comedian. Like it's not like gotten me like a job or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not like a successful comedian now, you know. Like I think it's just late night sets are like different. It's not gonna like boost my career as much as it maybe would have like 20 years ago. But it's just it's still cool. I don't know.
Yeah, it is almost
Like
more for comedians now. Like, I mean, I've had several
mhm.
friends perform on late night, and it is more like it's for us. It's for your peers more than like getting some sort of opportunity that may or may not happen. It really is just like, oh, I conquered that type deal.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
And one of the I want to dive in. Okay, we have some people posting questions. I want to dive into a joke that you did on, because I love your writing and your timing on stage. And there's a confidence to silence. And you saying you're only 5 years in, that's, I mean, like silence is something that comedians, I mean, like 15 years in can struggle with being comfortable in that. But you do seem to have confidence within your pacing and your pausing overall. And how were you able to develop that, especially so quickly?
I think for me, I'm just like a slow person in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I think like listening is really hard. So when I'm listening to comedians, sometimes I'm like, I'm gonna like, you're talking so fast and I don't really want to pay attention to all of this. So I'm gonna think about something else. So I realized that like pretty early on, like, okay, like a really important part is to just keep the audience's attention, especially when you're like starting out, you're like in these noisy dive bars,
Yeah.
or like coffee shops. And so if you can, even if you like nobody's laughing, if you can get their attention and hold it, like that feels so good. So I think I just developed that early on, just like trying to get people's attention. And I noticed that like the slower I went and like the more pauses I took, the more people would be like, whoa, what's happening? What's going on?
Oh, fascinating.
It's like
yeah.
it's like a little trick that I learned. And now I don't know, it just kind of stuck. But I noticed like, I'll go back and like listen to like newer jokes that I recorded, and like I feel like I'm talking so fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like I have to like really like learn how to slow down my jokes over time.
I find
I
it
just think
helps
it's
me
better
to
that
like
way.
breathe. Like sometimes if I catch myself going too fast, and early on I would do some open mics where I was like, my only goal is to just focus on breathing this set and just make sure I'm mindful of taking a breath in between jokes. So breathing helps me slow down, and that was a technique that helped me to kind of develop more of a slower pace. Is breathing important to you, or what do you do when you're like, oh, I'm speeding up? How do you catch yourself?
Yeah, breathing is really good. I never think about breathing though. I don't think when I'm performing. It's just so hard to think about that.
Yeah.
But I think what I think about is like laughs. Once, like I want them to laugh, and then I'm gonna wait until they're done laughing, and wait for them to like finish processing the last joke before I start saying something else. Because I think it just goes back to like I want them to pay attention to what I'm saying. I'm up here, it's my time. Like, don't be thinking about the last joke I said. Think about this joke that I'm saying now. And I think that I do that just like in regular life too, because I'm very quiet. So like I have to wait until there's like a pause in the conversation to like, if I want people to like pay attention to me. So that's just, yeah, something I've learned from like growing up, I guess.
Yeah, very cool.
Like people will pay attention to me if they're not distracted by anything else.
I love it. And you, just to get into a specific joke, I mean, your basketball coach bit, I mean, the pacing, the word choice, the timing of some tags, like, I mean, I love the bit, but how did you like develop that bit from an idea that you then were able to translate into a bit for late night?
Yeah, so it's funny because like the original idea was like a basketball announcer. Well, it is like a basketball announcer because I was watching a lot of basketball at the time, and like there's so many innuendos. So I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. So it'd be funny if I did a bit where I was like a basketball announcer, but there's like just a bunch of sexual innuendos.
Mm-hmm.
But then like I was like, I can't do a basketball announcer. Like that's not, I can't do characters. So I think originally I was like trying to do like this like fast, like back and forth thing, and it just like wasn't working. So I was like, all right, I just gotta like do it like how I would say it. So like I'm directing like someone, you know. And then like just the tags, you try like a million different tags, and those were the ones that I liked, and it had like a good rhythm. And that's the joke. Like most often, like people will come up after the show and be like, "Oh, I have a tag for you," but like I've tried them all. Like, stop giving me tags. Like I've tried all of them. These
Right.
are the ones that I like the best and that I've stuck with. So.
Yeah, it is. It's fun. It's a fun pace, and it is like piecing it together like a puzzle. And what was the process for putting that puzzle together in terms of like, were you pen to paper and you wrote like a bunch of sexual innuendos and then like a bunch of sports phrases and you tried to like connect the dots that way? Or how did you start to kind of find the mechanics?
Yeah, just that way. Just trying to think of as many like funny like one-line things as I could, and then like the different like players and stuff. Like I love the Warriors, so I was like at first I was like trying to get all of the players in. I was like, that's too many, and then it was just like way too long. So I just kept like trying to cut it down as much as possible, but still get like those. I like those like big pops of laughs. So I would just like keep those, and then like kind of get rid of everything else.
Yeah. Editing can be a beast because it's my brilliant idea. It's my joke. But then if it doesn't laugh, I mean, it's it's got to go.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Sometimes I edit like too much because I'm like, oh, that one time it didn't get a laugh, so I'm gonna cut it out, and then I'll forget about it. But then I don't know. I'm really bad at like keeping stuff that's not working and like just trying to make it better. But like I'll just like cut out so much.
It's good though. I mean, the stuff worth keeping always comes back around. So it's always better to be too harsh where you're like, I'll just kill it. And then it'll roll back around. A lot of the times it may be a month, it may be a year, like 5 years, like the good stuff will float back to the top. So it's better to have that instinct I would say, than where you have too much fluff and you just hold everything too precious, and then you end up just bombing. You just die on your sword. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
I've done that. Yeah, I've done that with a few jokes where I'm like, I really like this joke, but nobody else does, so I'm going to keep doing it. And then finally, after like years, I was like, okay, fine.
right.
You
Yeah.
win. I'm not going to do it anymore.
But then sometimes it's like if you believe in it and work on it enough, then eventually you find the angle or you find the pop that then opens it up. So it could go either way. It just depends on how your delusions of grandeur, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
So the joke starts with you being like, oh, it'd be funny to have a basketball announcer that's sexual innuendos. But then you go into the players' names, but the joke grows from that to the passing and then like swirling around the rim. So like you add new dimensions to it. First off, how long did you work on that joke, would you say, before you performed it on Conan?
That was one of my early jokes, and then it like developed over years. So probably like 3 years. 3 or 4 years.
So it starts with that initial idea of a announcer that does like sexual innuendos. So then how did you start to piece it together to all those different layers of the passing and then the back and forth, and then the swirling around the rim and the shot clock tag, and like how and where did those start to fall into place?
Yeah. I mean, if you don't know the joke, if someone's listening to this, it's about cunnilingus. So I was
sorry, I guess I should have prefaced the whole thing with that. I'll play it in the audio version of this for people.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so I was just trying to pretty much like just combine those two things. Like, where do these like overlap? What's the Venn diagram for these two things? And like, I think like it's funny like trying to communicate with your partner about sex too. And it's like, just like what are like some simple moves like just to like get them to understand like what you want them to do. And so I think like passing and swirling, like it's just like, come on, it's too easy.
The fundamentals.
Yeah. Fundamentals, that's good.
Yeah. There's a tag. Yeah, no, I'm just
yeah
kidding.
there
I'm
you
just
go.
kidding.
It's over. It was on TV. I'm not doing it again.
Right. Yeah.
No, but that's just like a fun one to do. You can always like throw stuff in live, like when you're doing it live, and like people just like, even if they have never watched basketball, it's like just like a fun joke. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, and that's why I picked that one, because it has a very clear, defined premise, and it's executed very well. Because like when we had Mark Normand on here, one of his big things was like the joke has to be clear. A lot of times the audience isn't laughing because they don't understand what you're trying to say. So I picked that joke of yours because it's very clear what the idea, what the premise is. And then you're just able to build on it and add those different layers and take us on a journey with it. So that's really why I picked that one, because like it was just very well executed from an organizational standpoint.
Yeah, and if you listen to it again, like I do spend a lot of time setting it up, because there's like a good chunk in there where there's like, I'm not telling a joke. I'm just like saying like you have to communicate with your partner, and like people are like waiting for the joke, but it's not really there until like I'm actually like passing the basketball, So it's kind of scary in a way, but I know that the joke is there, so I'm not scared, but I think people are like, what's happening right now? I haven't laughed in a minute. But I think it's just like then the tension is like released, so it helps. But
especially with your pacing, I'm sure at some point they're like, "Uh-oh, where is she going to take us here?" But you don't lead us astray. I love it. Yeah, you're good at I think it's analogies like you do with marriage and Costco. Like you're good at finding connections between seemingly unconnected like ideas. With the Costco joke, was that like one of the jokes with the Honey Bunches of Oats? Was Honey Bunches of Oats like the first cereal you picked, or did you go through a few iterations of like cereals, or maybe it's a big jar of pickles? Like, did you go through different iterations that way as well?
Yeah, I thought about like different things that I would get at Costco, like trail mix or something.
Mm-hmm.
But like I think Honey Bunches of Oats is just like more personal for me because like I grew up like my mom would always get those like 2 packs, and then we'd like always have to eat Honey Bunches of Oats, and it's like a good cereal, but it's like, oh man, you can get sick of it so fast.
Uh-huh.
So just like the visual for me of like the 2 bags of Honey Bunches of Oats was the one that stuck out.
Awesome. Yeah, let me well, I've asked my questions. I've nerded out on your comedy, and we have some people posting here some questions. So I think we're ready to get to some fan questions if you are.
Yeah, I don't think I have any fans, but
What? I'm telling you, like we had Shane Torres on here yesterday, and
yeah.
I feel like we had more people responding about you being on here than Shane. So give yourself some credit here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, see, more
Better
validation.
than Shane.
You got the hot breath bump. It's not about the Conan bump anymore. It's about the hot breath bump.
Yeah. I got to work with Shane in Sunnyvale at Rooster Teeth Feathers.
Uh-huh.
And this was like just when I started talking to JP about Conan. And Shane has done Conan multiple times. So I got to talk to him about it. And he was like super helpful with like just like kind of easing my stress about like not hearing back from him. He's like, don't worry about it. It's going to happen. Like, it just takes time. So he was like super helpful in that process.
I love that. And what I love about catching you at this moment in your career, just 5 years in, is that you're only going to keep progressing and just keep getting better and more established. Because you're definitely, you're in it. It's just time and consistency at this point. I mean, the talent's there. So it's exciting to been doing Hot Breath like 5 years, and there's several comics to where it's like, interview them before they maybe even have a TV appearance, and now they're like the star of a show or something like that. It's the hot breath bump, we call it here.
Nice.
So actually, what we're gonna do is bring in. We're doing this for the first time for you, Emily. We're bringing in the comic that actually requested. I posted a poll on the Hot Breath Instagram requesting who people wanted to hear on the show, and this entire week has been devoted to those requests. So we're actually going to invite the comedian that requested you. His name's Aaron Patrick, and he has a question he wants to ask you about comedy in hopes that this works. Because we've never tried this before, so we're going to see what happens here. So, Aaron, are you there? That's how this happens. Oh, let me see if we can add him. I'm calling him. Paging Aaron.
This works.
Aaron.
Because we've never tried this before, so we're going to see what happens.
Are you there? Can you all see each other?
Aaron, are you there?
Hello. Oh, there's like an echo.
Oh yeah. Can you
Sorry.
mute me, Aaron? Let me see if there's a way for all three of us to be in here, or how I can. Never done this before, so this is exciting. And then he just left.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, never mind.
He got nervous.
This may be a way to do it for now, until I figure it out. I could just share the screen. Where'd he go? Did we really just lose him? Oh.
I think he's getting headphones or something.
Oh, okay. This is his big debut. We don't want him to. Oh, and I see there's a picture-in-picture on. Let me hide this real quick. How do I hide a picture-in-picture?
I don't know. I don't use Skype.
Yeah,
This is like my first time I've used Skype in years.
You guys got me?
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, let me
Oh.
I'm gonna try something real quick so I don't because right now it's picture in picture. Oh, let me close it. Oh, there we go. All right.
All right.
So let me zoom out. Now we're all in there. Okay. See, I'm glad we're doing this. Thank you for your patience with this, Emily. We're all learning. This just became a terrible Zoom open mic. There we go. Okay, very cool. It worked. That's so exciting.
All right. Cool stuff.
Yeah, so Aaron, you can all see each other?
Yep.
Yeah.
So cool. Oh my gosh, this is exciting. So Aaron's the comedian that actually requested you to be on the show, Emily. So Aaron, maybe just like a little bit about your comedy experience, and then what's your question, buddy?
Yeah, well, nobody wants to hear about me, so, but I will say, so Emily, the first time I saw you, I was out in LA last summer for a work conference, and one of my all-time favorite comedians is Pete Holmes, and I saw he was opening for Kyle Dunnigan, and Sarah Silverman was on the show, and I was like, I'm going to go. I was by myself. I showed up, and I got to sit front row, dead center. And then they came out and announced you, and I was like, oh, I have no idea who this is, and like killed it, like destroyed the room. Everybody was like cracking up laughing. You did the basketball bit, and I can't remember if you did it there or if I saw it online, but the hiccup bit about like whenever you get the hiccups, everybody becomes an expert about how to get rid of them. And I'm like dying laughing, and like it was a really cool show for me because I was literally like month one of my stand-up career, and to see you like to go through to a full set as like the opener, and then to see Pete Holmes and Sarah Silverman and just like running new material, and I've never experienced that. Like now going out to open mics, everybody's doing new material, what that's like, but to see somebody like that, and then to see you on the show was really cool, and just been kind of following since then. And I know the one question I wanted to ask is I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary for doing stand-up, which still seems a weird thing to say, anniversary doing stand-up. But I was wondering if someone like yourself, you're 5 years in, you've sort of climbed that comedic mountain of Conan, which I'm sure I don't want to like say you're tired of talking about, but I don't know if you are or not. But it's like, is that the only question you ask? So, but I'm working on slowing down my breath.
Doing great. You're doing great, Aaron. This is big Hot Breath debut here.
Yeah. So the big question I wanted to ask was, if you could go back to yourself at the end of your first year, what advice would you give yourself?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Thanks.
I think by the end of the first year, I was like still not really convinced that like comedy could be a thing for me. It's like kind of you're in a weird spot because you're not really doing good shows yet. I assume like I wasn't. I was just doing open mics, and it like was fun, and like I made friends, but it wasn't like I couldn't picture it beyond that. And so I think what I would tell myself is just like, work harder, like, keep doing it. Stop like slacking off. Like you love doing this, so do it. Like, don't try to like have, different things going on just in case like this isn't gonna like keep going. I would just be like, go for it,
Kind of like all in or nothing.
Yeah, or just like, stop slacking off. Like, stop doing the same jokes every night. Or stop drinking so much. Like, just like take it more seriously. Just like try it. It's not like bad to like try for something,
Yeah.
And I think I figured that out eventually, but like after like 2 years maybe.
Yeah.
But like in the first year, I would tell myself to like try harder.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's one thing. I come from a really blue collar family, and so my dad kind of instilled with me, like, if you're gonna do something, like if it's cutting the grass, if it's doing a job, you go all in if you want to be successful at it. And it's very interesting to me that I see people around where I do comedy that are so funny, so hilarious, and you're just like, what are they still doing here? Like, why are they at the open mic at 1 a.m. going up 2 spots before me? When I've been doing this for 6 months, and I've slowly started to realize if you do the little things like you said, just work a little bit harder and take it a little bit more serious, that you get opportunities that other people, you're like, because I'm sure this has probably happened to you, where you get on, you get offered a show and you're like, I shouldn't be here. Like, what am I doing here? Like, so yeah. So that's awesome. So it helps validate me what I'm trying to do now. So awesome.
Yeah, and like you were saying, like the Largo, it's like a special place because you see these like big time comedians just like trying stuff out, for the first time. And like I can't do that when I'm at Largo. I like bring my A+ material because it's like, I come out and people are like, who is this? I'm here to see Sarah Silverman. Who is this chick? So, but I kind of like that too because I'm like, all right, I have to like prove myself. In this venue. Yeah. Like, I don't belong here, you're right, but I'm going to try to prove you wrong.
But you also took the leap. You went from Santa Cruz to San Francisco to LA. So, I mean, you honestly believed in yourself, and I think taking the leap is something a lot of young comics struggle with. So, like, what went to your decision of saying, okay, I'm going to take it from San Francisco to LA, I'm just going to go for it? Yeah,
that was a little bit of an easier leap just because I felt like I had been there for so long that I didn't really have anywhere else to grow or like be challenged. So I was like, I gotta challenge myself a little bit more. So then I moved to LA. But like, I think like the Santa Cruz to San Francisco is hard because that was like, oh, am I doing this? Like I'm moving to a different town for comedy. But then like the San Francisco to LA, I was like already doing comedy at that point. So I was like, yeah, this is what I have to do. Like there's no other choice. So yeah, just diving in. And it's like, it's hard. Change is hard. Being challenged is hard. It's like starting over in a way, and that sucks.
What's that early grind like? The day job, and what is that early grind of I'm doing this, but then reality sets in of like, oh, I still have like to stay alive and eat.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, I still do like work, like because I gotta eat.
Yeah,
it's I wish that I didn't have to. Working sucks.
What is the work? Like what is your day? Because I mean that's I mean every comedian has to go through. So like what is the balance you're having to do right now?
I try to work as little as possible. That's my whole goal. Sorry.
She's taking her own advice, Aaron.
Yeah.
No, I mean like on other stuff, but like as much as I can, I'll like write. But that doesn't seem like work to me. That's just like, I have to do this. This is why I'm alive. Which is, I don't know, crazy. Because it is a lot of work if you think about it. Like you spend so many hours trying to do comedy. It's your whole life, but it just feels good. Feels better.
What about your day job? Do you have a day job?
Yeah, I do like freelance stuff, like remotely for like this law firm, but it's like just tedious, like data entry type stuff.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That's part of. I mean, that's what comedians need to hear though. Is that, oh man, she's doing it. She moved to L.A. and she was on Conan and she gets to perform with like Sarah Silverman. This is crazy, but it's like, hey, I mean, this is still comedy. and it doesn't pay until way after you've paid your dues. Like most of the time, that's the case. So it's important for comedians to hear that as well. That like you're making sacrifices for these opportunities you're getting. It's not just like they magically happen because you were tapped by the comedy gods. This is part of the comedian lifestyle that people need to know.
Yeah, no money. You got to know that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Joel, is it cool if I ask one more question?
Go ahead, Aaron. You have the floor.
All right. So I know you said you like talking and hanging out with other comedians, just kind of talking at shows and stuff. And one of my favorite things as a newer comedian is just to find out and discover different comedians I might not have known about. So I like to always ask people, what would be your Mount Rushmore of comedy? So like if you could choose just 4 comedians, and they don't have to be stand-up, they could be TV comedians, like writers, whatever it is. I'm always interested to see what other comedians have to say to that.
Dude, that's such a hard question.
That's what literally everybody always says. So
oh man, I don't know. For me, it's probably like I'm not like a big comedy like fan.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like I didn't really grow up watching comedy. I kind of just started getting into it after I started. Like, so, like the people that I started watching were like Sarah Silverman, Louis C.K., Tig Notaro. So I was like, then I had to like go back and like do some like, watch like older comedy like Mitch Hedberg and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So like I don't really know anything about like the great comedians.
No, it's okay. I know it's not a trap question to make you say, oh, she didn't say Richard Pryor, or she didn't say this person. It's just always interesting to me to hear who are some of the people's like influences and people that they grew up, because I grew up when the Comedy Central 30-minute specials were on like every Friday night. And that's kind of what drew my like love of comedy and everything like that. And then Saturday Night Live with guys like Sandler and Farley and Spade and everybody. And so like I said, it's just always interesting.
Sure. Yeah. I think like a big influence that like would probably be one of my top 4 would be Tina Fey. Just like I grew up watching her like SNL, 30 Rock. Like I was just like obsessed. And she was like, she's not a comedian, I guess, but like her writing was so like personal. It was like, oh, I relate to this and everybody else can relate to this and nobody else is like talking about this for some reason, which is comedy, I think. Yeah. So she would be up there for sure.
Nice.
And yeah,
well, that was 4. You did name 4.
That's all I'm gonna say, because there's so many, and I hate like choosing. Yeah, everybody's so different. But
gotcha. You'll just get hit up with all the people you didn't mention after this, and say, "Why didn't you mention me? You were gonna be on the show. Now you're not anymore."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
how did you not say Conan? How did you not say Conan?
Yeah, it's all political, so I can't talk about it.
Awesome.
But yeah. Aaron, where are you based again?
Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
How's the scene out there?
It's good. There, before all this started, literally the week before everything shut down, it was almost like a stand-up game going on. There was a Tuesday night where there was literally, I think it was 6 open mics. And one of the comedians put a challenge of like how many people can hit all 6. So like people are like running in and out of doors and everything. And I didn't find out about all the mics until like that night, because I was on one of the shows. And so I was kind of like, I felt kind of left out, but it's definitely growing here. Like pretty much every night of the week, there's somewhere, either a dive bar or a venue that's doing a show. Fridays and Saturdays are always pretty busy with, opportunities to get stage time and everything. So it's definitely growing in this area. That's for sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
Aw, that was so cool.
Yeah.
And I just figured out how to get us all 3 Anyway, it doesn't matter. we're all three in it the whole time, but I was trying to figure out the layout. And as you two are look, we're connecting comedians across the coast. This is so cool. That's great. Awesome. I feel like a star maker. What if you two like grow up to be like the next great comedians, and I'm like, it was here, and I'm still just in my home office, just like, remember, guys? It's all good.
I hope so. Well, we won't forget about you.
Yeah.
What was your name again?
It'll pop up in our yearly feed on Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron Patrick, man, this was great. Thanks for requesting Emily and asking such great questions.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
All right. Have a good day, Aaron.
Thanks.
Wow. That was cool. That was our first time doing that. So
yeah, good job figuring it out.
We might be onto something here. So let's we could just get maybe like 2 questions from fans, because this one was from Imri, who asked, this might be a stupid question about Conan, but is there a warm-up comic that gets the crowd ready?
Yeah. I'm blanking on his name right now. But I believe he started in San Francisco. Man, I'm so bad with names. But really funny guy. He warms up the crowd before every show, and then Conan comes out and does his thing, and then there's a guest, and then the comic. So I was able to go out into the studio and watch the warm-up comic, and Conan's like little, like, he did like a little skit, and then had the guest. It like goes by so fast, it's crazy. But yeah, the warm-up comic, he doesn't really do jokes, or when I was there, he wasn't really doing jokes, but he would like bring people from the crowd onto the stage and then like make them dance, and and then like there was like a winner or something. So it was like very like crowd heavy, like just like making fun of people, pretty much like roasting their outfits and stuff.
Yeah, and that's if Imri, like every comedy show has a warm-up comic. If TV shows have warm-up comics, and it's a skill set within itself. Brody Stevens was known to be a really good warm-up comic because it requires a lot of energy and interaction, and they play games, and they'll throw candy into the audience and things like that. Like, it's to really just gas up, to quote Pete Holmes, and gas it up. It really, you really just got to gas it up. So
yeah.
Did you get to have an interaction with Conan, by the way? Did you get to? Like, hey.
Yeah. So that was like probably the coolest part of it. Like, I didn't meet him before my set, so like walking out, like him introducing me and me walking out, that was the first time like seeing him. So. And then after my set, he came over and was like, Emily Catalano. And then we cut to commercial, and then he just stayed there with me for like 5 minutes. Just like the crowd was still there, and we were just talking, like not mic'd up or anything, but just like we were just talking about the set, and he was like so nice. And I did that joke about like, don't marry Nathan Brown.
Yeah.
And yeah. So like the first thing that Conan said to me when he walked over after he was like, good set, he was like, please tell me that you used his real name. And I was like, yeah, that's his real name. And he was like, all right, I'll pay for your legal fees. But luckily, like, nobody sued me or anything, but it was just really cool of him. He's just like he's so funny in person, like way funnier in person than like on TV, I think. But like,
how so?
Just so nice. just like every other like line that he says is a joke.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like always joking. And then like we went out back to the stage like with my friends later, just like take pictures and stuff, and nobody else was there. But then Conan walked out from like backstage and like took pictures with everybody and stuff. So he was just like super cool.
This Nathan Brown joke, was there any blowback, or did Nathan know this was going on TV? And
no, nobody knew. Yeah, I didn't even tell my mom. Like, she was watching it, and I guess she like freaked out when she was watching it. She like started screaming because she had no idea. But I haven't heard from Nathan. I've heard from like some of his family members that I still like in contact with, and they were like, yeah, saw you on Conan, great set, like way to kill it. Like,
oh, okay.
So I'm sure not everybody appreciated it, but like a few people like can take a joke.
So wait, did you actually marry this guy and now you're not type deal?
Yeah, we were married before I did comedy.
Wait, how old were you?
I was 27.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I started comedy. It's easy to remember because I started comedy like a few weeks after I turned 30. I think it was like a midlife crisis or something. But
yeah, good. That's great though. Yeah, it's never too late to start.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's hilarious. That you say his name and location, and there's been no blowback. So that's cool.
No, I mean, it's a pretty like common name, so I think people probably just assume I made it up.
Very nice. Well, kudos to Nathan for being a good sport.
Yeah.
Or actually, or like you said, that guy sucks. So maybe he just sucks so much. He's like, I suck too much.
Yeah, it's fine. We don't talk, so it's not like... It's fine.
Quite a life you've lived. I look forward to hearing more about this as your comedy progresses, you getting into that type of stuff.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get to the final one here. And can you move your camera, I'm trying to think, maybe to your right a little bit? There we go. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Oh, I was like leaning.
Yeah, it's because on the screen we're on a split screen in the stream, okay. So it kind of makes the window smaller. So.
Okay. Gary Cannon is the warm-up comics name.
Gary Cannon?
Yeah.
Very cool. Shout out to Gary. That's a hard job. That's requires physical effort to be a warm-up comic. So.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I don't have that much.
That would be hilarious if you go out there and it's like, hey.
Yeah.
I'm here to get y'all turned up for Family Feud. Are y'all ready for this?
Yeah.
But it is cool. You got to work with like Tig and Sarah, and you see that skill set like at the highest form. Like you're seeing masters of that sort of performance. So I bet you got to learn so much just from seeing them execute it live. That had to have been just like a boost of like, oh, that's what's possible, you know?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like Tig is like just on another level of that, you know?
For
like
sure.
So confident, like in the silence. But it's like, it's the best when you can pull it off like that, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just like watching it live is amazing.
Yeah, so let's get into this final question here. This is from Chase Bonin. He asks, oh wait, never mind. That's a comment. Hold on, he has a question up higher. His comment was, not drinking or slowing down drinking seems to be a theme for most pro-working comics. Yeah.
Not drinking or drinking slowing down?
Yeah, or drinking less seems to be a big piece of advice, a lot of professional comics. And then the person right after them says Ron White drinks on stage. So there's always exceptions, but
yeah, I mean, I didn't stop drinking. I think it was more like I'm not going out just to drink. Like, I'm going out for the comedy.
Yes.
I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense because a lot of comics, especially early on, treat it more like a social club or like a meetup. But it's like, I mean, you're not here to get drunk. You're here to work on the craft of comedy. Yes, you could talk to other comedians and make friends and things like that. But the number one goal of every single show should be you're getting on stage and getting better. It's not how many shots can I get for free from the audience or something like that. Like, it's a job, and that was a big thing Shane Torres said yesterday was like, you know, comedy, if you want to be a job, you have to treat it like a job. That's huge.
I agree.
Here we go. All right, so Chase's question. This will be the final one. Chase says, being newish, are you still finding new writing techniques, and do you have a ritual that helps you write?
Yeah. I'm always looking up, like, or I'm always like trying to find like the best way to write, which I haven't found yet, but it's just like really hard. So for me, like the more time I can spend writing, the better. So it just for me is like a lot of time writing. I use like Google Docs, and I just will write anything like I'm thinking about, and it's like a lot of very not funny stuff, but it's just like maybe this topic will turn into a joke later, or I'll find the punchline later. So it's just a lot of time not being funny, just kind of more like journal entry type stuff. And that's been my process so far. But no, I don't have the secret to writing yet, but maybe someday I'll let you know.
You did mention earlier when you're doing the basketball joke, a Venn diagram. Are there other techniques you'll plug into jokes to test them out?
Yeah, I think when I'm like doing like comparison jokes like that, or like analogy, that's like a good way to like just like make two lists of things. I think it's like good for like topical jokes too. If you're like, oh, Trump, everything you can think about Trump, and then everything you can think about coronavirus or something, and see like what can like match up and what will, what you can compare.
But otherwise, it's you basically just like free writing, just journaling, and basically, yeah.
Because I think like the comedy that I like is like personal, and I think I like to spend time writing jokes that like only I can say.
Boom. Yes.
So like the more personal I can get, I think the better, because then you don't have to worry about like, oh, did somebody else already do this?
Yep.
And it just saves a lot of time. So that's what I try to do. But sometimes, your personal stuff isn't funny yet.
And what about when you're saying a lot of it's just not funny, which I think is important for comics to hear, that it's okay that 80% of what you write isn't like worth keeping. I just heard Seinfeld say in an interview, like 9 out of 10 of his jokes he ends up not keeping. So it's normal, and that is part of the work of comedy, which is why most people don't figure out like how to write jokes, because it is like a law of numbers, and the more you write, the more chances you're giving yourself to find a joke. But it really is just a lot of writing about not funny things until something like sparks.
Yeah, and I think like maybe the first step before writing like the punchline is finding something interesting, or a topic that's interesting to you, or like something that you haven't heard anybody else talk about before. Because if you can like capture like interest in the setup, then the punchline, whatever it is gonna hit that much harder, because people are already invested in what you're saying. I think that's like one of my theories.
That's gold right there. If you can capture interest in the setup, the punchline will hit that much harder. That's gold right there. We found it. We found it, Hot Breath of Us. We have excavated the gold mine. Let's get her out of here before she regrets it. No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. This is awesome. Thank you for doing this. This was our first time like taking requests and then like seeing them come live on the air and then get to connect with the guests that request. It's very cool of you to do this. So how can us, as the Hot Breath of Verse, how can we like support you, follow you, like tell us what you have going on?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. I post like a bunch of clips, so that's like a cool way to like see more of my comedy, and you can like share them with your friends and stuff. That would help. And yeah, I started doing a live Zoom show with my roommates. I live with some other comedians, so we do a live show every Thursday. So we have one tomorrow. It's at 7:00 our time, California time. And yeah, you can DM me if you want like the link. And we like just try. It's kind of like, it's not an open mic, but we like try to have like new material every week. Just like, and it's probably all going to be about the quarantine. But it's like, it's fun, and we drink a lot. So
your advice is that you would work harder and drink less, and then the thing you're going to close the interview on is it's a Zoom excuse to get drunk on the internet.
Yeah, well, now I can drink. I'm a famous comedian now, so now I can drink.
That's true. You got the hot breath bump, so you are a famous comedian now.
Yeah, you got to put the work in. I deserve it.
Well, Hot Breath of Verse, go support Emily and all of her projects. If you found this helpful, reach out to her on social media. Let her know how great this interview was and show your support for her and the show. If you want to get involved in more of these Q&As in the future, go into the description of this episode, click the link to join the Facebook group, and you can start interacting with listeners from around the world. But for this episode, we out here. So let's give a round of applause to Emily Catalano one more time. Thank you for your time, Emily. And
thanks for having me.
Have a good day, Hot Breath of Verse.